From comparing their franchise to the MCU to using Gal Gadot's star power to boost its numbers, here's why the Fast and Furious cast is delusional about how bad their movies are. It all started with a bunch of young guys and gals and their colorful souped-up cars, racing for pink slips, and it was a massive hit with car enthusiasts all around the world. The franchise became an instant favorite, but let's be real for a second, fans are done with it. After Fast 5, the rest of the movies lost their luster, and at that point, the franchise became more about spectacle than story. It's like what happened to the Mission Impossible films, or even what you're seeing with superhero flicks. The original fans aren't happy seeing what's happened to their franchise, and the new fans don't think the movies are good either. With 10 movies and spin-offs under their belt, people are hoping the franchise will end, and I can't blame them. I mean, they're exhausted. But I'll tell you who doesn't want it to end. The cast. And I get it. Nobody wants to have to pass out resumes. But they're straight up delusional about how bad these movies really are. Check out the Michelle Rodriguez has been saying. Michelle's known for playing Letty Ortiz, and she loves to bash Marvel, but ignores how bad her own franchise is. She said, "I'm getting tired of all these Marvel movies," and it pissed off a lot of Marvel fans. One fan shot back and told her that Marvel has 32+ movies, and that Fast and Furious could never even think about reaching that number, because it's not as popular and doesn't have legions of fans like Marvel does. Another fan trolled her saying, "She's hating from the outside because she can't get in. Marvel rejected her at some point." Other fans talked about how the Fast and Furious franchise shouldn't have had any movies after the fourth, and a lot of people agreed that it should have ended by now. Man, a debate between Marvel and Fast fans isn't something you see every day. I mean, it's always Marvel versus DC. But she started it, and Marvel fans were more than happy to call her out. They even pointed out how the Fast franchise only did 10 movies in 22 years, and Marvel did 4 in 1 year. Not to mention, Marvel has 70+ years of comic books to take material from, and all Fast movies look the same. You have to admit, Marvel's definitely more interesting than a family driving cars, and fans thought it was ridiculous that they took the franchise into freaking space. And yeah, that was weird, because they just strapped some cars onto a rocket and sent them up there. I can picture NASA engineers shaking their heads and being like, "What the f***? Houston, we have a problem. A bunch of morons all jacked up on Red Bull and Coronas are taking their boosted cars to boldly go where no man has gone before." So that's why when fans saw how delusional Michelle was about the entire thing, they lost it. And if you think she's living in an alternate reality, wait until you hear how out of touch Vin Diesel is. Because of his role as a producer, he acts like he's the boss on set. And remember, this is the guy who did The Pacifier back in 2005. But he's the same guy who bullied James Wan and Justin Lin out of directing another film because they couldn't reach his impossible vision. Vin overestimates how successful the franchise is and refuses to admit that they're dumb popcorn films. He's out there pretending that it's the biggest franchise in the world and thinks he's made like 10 Godfathers or something, I swear to God. But you know what's the worst thing he's done? He compared the franchise to The Lord of the Rings. I'm not kidding, that actually happened. He compared the two franchises and went on about how difficult the entire process is, talking about the work off screen, all the thinking hurting his brain, and how expanding's the hardest part. Then he says, that's why Tolkien stopped writing after a while, because it's difficult to continue mythologies.
Because it's so hard to continue mythologies. Nobody thinks about it in that context.
He even called the Fast franchise the Lord of the Rings of action movies. What does that even mean? It's apples and oranges. It's like comparing Moana to Deadpool. Is Cypher supposed to be Sauron or something? What am I missing here? Anyway, Vin would have to be extremely delusional to believe that. Plus, the guy kept calling Fast X a finale, and then he turns around and says there's not one, but 2 more movies after that. And if you still don't think the guy's out of it, get a load of this. He says, it's the only franchise where they walk out, go to the booth and say, "Can I have a ticket to the next one?" Vin's not the only one living in another realm, though. Dwayne Johnson's no better. Sure, Lieutenant Hobbs is one of the best characters on screen and fans love him, but in the 6th movie, he didn't have much of a role, and all I saw was The Rock. He did get his own spin-off, though, Hobbs and Shaw, but because he was beefing with Vin Diesel, he wasn't in Fast 9. Hey, at least he's getting a sequel to his spin-off. Looks like even he couldn't get away from the family. Not all members of the cast are delusional, though, and some of them see the writing on the wall. Ludacris says the family keeps making these movies for one reason and one reason only. They're making billions. Yep, that's all. It's not for the fan, or for a love of cars defying the laws of physics. It's all about the Benjamins. When someone asked Luda why they keep making the movies, he said, "That's the dumbest question in the world." The Fast and Furious franchise should have ended 3 movies ago. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. They had the perfect opportunity to end it and tie up all their loose ends. But for some reason, after the few movies came out, they dragged the storylines on and milked the hell out of the franchise. By the time Fast X hit theaters in 2023, everyone was tired of the same old magic formula. We get it. Dom loves his family. He'll do anything to protect them. But it's getting old. In Fast X, Jason Momoa's character was the only breath of fresh air. He's got super advanced technology with crazy hacking abilities and wants revenge for a family member Toretto harmed in the past. The Fast and Furious movies that I grew up watching were all about crazy car chases and undercover cops exploring the illegal street racing scene. Now that was cool. It gave you a glimpse into a subculture that most of us didn't know about. Not only that, but at least the previous movies weren't about defying the laws of physics. Sir Isaac Newton would be rolling over in his grave if he knew the kind of stunts they pulled. And sure, over the years, some buddy cop elements were sprinkled in. They also felt like heist or spy flicks. But if you ask me, after Furious 7, the movies just felt soulless. The only reason number 7 even ranks up that high is that it was a tribute to the late Paul Walker. Despite how repetitive they've become, the movies are super successful in terms of dollars and cents, but that's only because some fans can't let go, and they ignore all the problems. I mean, you tell me, what the hell is the agency? And why is it still a thing? No one knows what it actually does or who runs it, so why should we care? Plus, the locations aren't even that exciting anymore. We've seen every single highway, street sign, and even all those downtown cores, but at this point I just don't care. In Fast X, the story returns to Rio once again, with a beautiful sun-kissed backdrop, and palm trees and girls in bikinis are great. Yeah, we get it. But give us more than that. Give us a story. And it's not even the locations that fans are tired of seeing. It's Gal Gadot's character Giselle that no one wants to see either. Fans think having Giselle resurrected was a bad call, and that having her back was unnecessary. Gal was the last trick up their sleeve to keep the franchise going, and that's why they're convinced they can reach the finish line in style. So there you have it, from using Gal Gadot's star power to boost its numbers, to comparing their franchise to the MCU. That's why the Fast and Furious cast is delusional about how bad their movies are.